Welcome. I've prepared a special seminar today called Healthy and Happy for the Holidays. And I think that it's really important to know what essential oils are going to help keep you healthy, because this is a time of year where we're exposed to a lot of illness and a lot of people in social gatherings. So, and I also want your mood to be right. So, first we're going to start with definition of terms. In this one, we're going to talk about the essential oils that are specific to this time of year that I like to use and what they mean. So that way you'll understand them when we get there. Analgesic means it relieves pain. Antiseptic, it destroys bacteria and germs. Antispasmodic, obviously it relieves muscle spasm. And astringent means that it tightens the tissues. Cytophylactic is really important in skincare and wound healing. It means it stimulates cell growth. Diuretic means that it decreases water retention. That's via the kidneys. And stomachic means that it's a stomach tonic, and it's used in stomach disorders, which we are exposed to a lot of during the holidays with potlucks and that sort of thing. And tonic means that it's mildly stimulating or invigorating to the whole body. This is important. You want to store your essential oils in a cool, dark place to prevent oxidation, which creates free radicals. Free radicals they've linked them to nearly every disease. And so we don't want to degrade their therapeutic properties. So we store them in dark bottles, so green, amber, blue. Now, this was a natural deodorant that I bought and I actually used because I liked the properties in it, but it's clear. So I was aware that there's going to be some therapeutic degradation here. So don't get clear. And while I'm here, I'll just go ahead and show you this about oxidation and the free radicals. So can you see this bottle? See how it's all pulled in? Mm-hmm. So I was gifted this lotion and it had already started to pull in. So I've never used it, but I thought, this will be a good example. That means it's extremely oxidized. It's taken this heavy plastic and pulled it in like a vacuum. This is going to be basically toxic if you rub it on your whole body and it's absorbed in. All right, so there are some vegetable oils that oxidize very quickly. Canola is one of them, but it's one that people are not allergic to. Can you see how much that's pulled in? This can happen in like 3 months with canola oil. And some of that is the way that it's processed, but just wanted to show you some of those examples. And then one of the reasons where I like to make my own body lotions for gifts and that sort of thing for the holidays is that I love this. And I was gifted this. But it has petrolatum Vaseline. Okay, that is a skin barrier. It cuts off all your pores. Your skins can't breathe anymore. And it also has dimethicone in it. Anything ending in CONE is a plastic. Again, that's going to seal off your pores. You don't want dimethicone in your hair products. It's really hard to find any that don't have that because it blocks the pores and the follicles then can't grow the hair out of them. So, all right, so back to our presentation here. We're going to talk about some of the essential oils that I think are especially pertinent this time of year, their properties and what they're indicated for, what you would use them for. Well, why is it important to use essential oils during the holidays? We've just talked about all of the benefits, but I think there's some indications during the holidays that are a little different. First of all, we're in the cold and flu season. It's winter. And there's a lot of increased stress during the holidays. Mm-hmm. People become depressed. Sometimes suicide increases during that time. Yeah. We're tired. We have so much more to do during the holidays than we do any other time. And how many gatherings do you have where there's potluck, so you got the foodborne illness coming there, and then people are hacking all over the food, coughing up a lung, and just, the handshaking, okay? It is just germs everywhere. Also, we're exposed to a lot of synthetic scents that dull our sense of smell, and they can create respiratory distress. So you'll see people using a lot more air fresheners and that kind of thing during the holidays. And so I want you to use real essential oils for your air fresheners. So also, as we talked about in our last presentation, using essential oils can help you with memory recall. So this is a really nice way to create a wonderful memory, a nice feeling of happiness and well-being that you may not specifically remember that, but you'll remember the feeling of, let's say, a mom creating a nice ambiance for the children for Christmas, because as parents we're super stressed. Okay, and also I love this. You can make really economical gifts that have therapeutic value and they're unique for your people on your gift list. The biggest investment, of course, is in the essential oils, but I have them so many, so you can play if you want. So conifers, that's, like the spruce trees and things like that. And we smell them a lot during the holidays because we have the garlands and the wreaths that are the pines, and we bring those in. But they're actually really good for us. So fir needle oil is from Europe. It's the European silver fir, white fir, or white spruce. And it's native to Europe. And it is the second tallest tree. It can grow up to 179 feet tall. So this essential oil is distilled from the leaves. Anything that is distilled from the leaves is needles, exactly, leaves and needles. It's going to be good for the lungs because that's how the plant breathes. So where the essential oil is distilled from gives you some good clues to how it applies to us. And it's been used for centuries in Europe for muscle and joint pain as well as respiratory illness. So some of its properties are it's antifungal, antiviral. This is important. The antiviral, there's less of those that deal with viruses. It's antiseptic. Obviously, it's a stimulant when you think about it, even in your head. It's a good deodorant. It's an expectorant, so it's going to clear phlegm from your lungs. It's a diuretic. It helps with excess water weight. It's neuralgic. It's an immunostimulant. It's going to help stimulate your immune system. Vasoconstrictor means it constricts the blood vessels. So if you had a wound and you needed it to quit bleeding, that would be good. It's detoxifying, and it increases digestion. It also increases heart rate. It's going to make your heart pound faster. So if you were to put that in a bath, Epsom salts also increases heart rate. So that would make your heart pound fast if you put that one in there. As long as you know the properties, you won't be alarmed about that. Okay. It's been used at lots of studies done for cancer and fir needle oil. That's impressive. It's a good pain reliever, obviously respiratory illness such as sinusitis, bronchitis, colds, and flu. It's great for detoxification, cellulite, and it increases metabolism because I want to eat those goodies that people bring.
Yes.
It's good for joint pain, arthritis, muscular aches, and for reducing fever. Because again, people get sick this time of year, so you can put that in the bath and help reduce the fever. It's really good in a sick room spray. So in a sick room spray, obviously you're going to use a much higher concentration of essential oils. So you can just spray that all around, or you can diffuse it. Emotionally, it creates a positive mood and a sense of focus. It fights depression, it's calming, helps lower stress, and it decreases nervous exhaustion. We have exhaustion during the holidays. In skincare, it's excellent in wound healing. You want to use it diluted. So always use essential oils diluted in a carrier. My favorite is jojoba. And because it, like I said, is close to the skin's natural oil as we can get. And it is scientifically proven to kill that Staphylococcus aureus. I was trying to do it too fast. So I also spent the time to look up what glands and organs that this has an affinity for. Obviously lungs and sinuses, sore muscles, and the joints. In perfumery or blending your essential oil mixes, it's going to blend well with other conifers, other trees, with herbs, mints, citruses, and woods. So it can go with the flower. Lavender is about the only one you can mix this with. And then rosemary, marjoram, lemongrass, cypress, which is another tree, cedarwood, and sandalwood. It has a fresh, woodsy smell that's very pleasant during the holidays, and you have to use it diluted. So here's the fir needle oil. I'll let you pass that around. Just smell that. Some of them have droppers in them, some of them don't, so be careful that they don't get spilled. And the next one is spruce. There you go. So spruce is distilled from the needles or the leaves and twigs. And it's native to our area, the North American continent, and it grows up to 35 feet tall. And you can find it from Canada to all along the Pacific and Atlantic coasts in America. It was used by the Native Americans for wound care in respiratory illness, and they used it a lot in their meditative rituals. The Native Americans are very conscientious of their spiritual life and do rituals for that, where they use spruce. It's a stimulant, obviously, when you smell that, you can tell. It's antibacterial, antiviral, antiseptic. It's an immunostimulant, and it also works to help combat cancer. You're waiting for the next one. I don't know what it is yet, but it's good for chronic fatigue and nervous exhaustion. It's going to help promote restful sleep. Those are all really important. So I highlighted in green things that I think are specific to kind of our holiday. And it's good for respiratory illness, for asthma and lung complaints, adrenal exhaustion. This is something that's really important to me. I have had adrenal failure where I was not supposed to live past 30. So anything I can do to support my adrenal glands is important. It's a great deodorant and decongestant. It's good for stomach inflammation, such as irritable bowel syndrome and Crohn's. If you have irritable bowel syndrome, you want to know how to treat that, because it's really hard to treat and it controls your life in a major way. Spruce helps to improve concentration and memory recall. It reduces yeast infections, and if you have problems with candida, you're going to want to know that too. And the way it does that, it destroys the cell wall of the yeast and it causes it to die. So it's good in fungal infections. And it helps increase testosterone levels. So men and women have testosterone, and women usually have less, but you'll know if a woman has more testosterone because they have much more developed muscles and usually more facial hair. On the contrary, you'll know if a man has more estrogen because he has man boobs, he has moobs, and a much softer body structure, less muscle tone. Okay, so we did the spruce. We've got a little bit more to cover here. It's wonderful in pet care. So you can use it for your pets. You can spray it on their coat. You can put it on their collar. You can put it in their beds. You can put it in their baths. So for skin care and hair care, it's really good for burns and inflammations and wound care and boils. So like the Native Americans knew that. It's good for dermatitis, eczema, and psoriasis, so inflammatory processes. And it helps control the inflammation caused by stress of hormonal imbalances. So it works on the glands and organs. It has cortisone-like properties. I was getting ahead of myself. That's why it works on the adrenal glands. Adrenal glands produce cortisol. And because of that, you want to be careful of that if you're pregnant. So anything that's going to influence the hormonal system, you want to be careful of that. So it also helps support the endocrine system, the adrenal glands, pituitary, thymus, and the lungs. A little bit more on spruce. It has emotional properties of feeling calming or inducing calming and sedating, grounding, centering, and focus. It helps decrease stress response. And it's useful for anxiety and meditation practices. So it's going to help take you out of that fight or flight response, which most of us operate in unless we're specifically working to control that, which is very destructive to our body. And it helps resonate with the root and heart chakras, the first and fourth. So the chakras are something that a lot of people in yoga understand, but they are energy centers in our body that actually have great validity. So this is one that works with that. In perfumery, it's a middle to top note. When you smell that, you'll get to understand, oh yeah, that's kind of deeper than just the high top note, so middle. It's going to blend well with other conifers, herbs, mints, citruses, and woods, such as lavender, rosemary, marjoram, lemongrass, cypress, cedarwood, and sandalwood. Obviously, it has that fresh, woodsy smell. It's really nice during the holidays. We talked about not using it if you're pregnant. Pine. I don't have pine. It is one that I didn't order, but it's the smell of Christmas trees. Yep. It's the pine, right? So it had properties that were so similar to the other two that I didn't invest in that one, but you can if you'd like. It was used anciently by the Greeks. Hippocrates was a great fan of pine. It's a tonic, meaning it's mildly invigorating the whole body. It's sedative, antiviral, antifungal, diuretic. It boosts metabolism. It's antiparasitic. That's important. If you eat sushi, you're going to get parasites more than likely. So you want to be aware of that. You would use that as a stomach oil, right? And it's analgesic. It's a pain reliever, anti-inflammatory, eases fatigue, and deodorant. They say that a lot of people have intestinal parasites. It's a horrible thought to think of, but anyway, something for you to use for that. It's really good for disinfecting the air and surfaces. Pine Sol, we've heard that brand, right? It's a natural solvent. It's a disinfectant, antibacterial, so it's used for that. It's good for respiratory illness, sore throat, and an expectorant, where it's going to get the phlegm out of your lungs. It's good for joint pain, rheumatism, arthritis, sports injuries. This is important. UTI, urinary tract infections, and it treats burns. It has antifungal properties, so it's good for athlete's foot and other fungal infections like ringworm. And this was interesting. It works on eye conditions like cataracts. Well, how would you use that? Would you put the essential oil on your eye?
No.
But you can make an eye compress. Last year in October, I flew to get my Qigong certification, and the air circulating blew something into my eye, and it caused such a huge cyst that it damaged the meibomian glands, and I had an infection for over a year, and I almost had to have eye surgery. So how he taught me to put hot compresses on, but I know about essential oils. So I used clary sage, which is excellent for the eyes, and you have to put an emulsifier in. So this one is polysorbate. You can use that in food as well. This is food grade. Or you could use a coconut emulsifier, but you would only use 1 drop in a big, maybe a gallon of water with the emulsifier, and you agitate it so that it's little teeny tiny droplets. Then you put your washcloth in there, wring it out, put that over your eyes, and then put an eye pillow over it that you've heated up so it'll hold the heat in. That's how I finally got rid of it. So, and now when I'm on a plane, I wear a visor. I seriously don't want anything blown in my eyes. That was horrible. Emotionally, it invigorates the body and mind. It improves focus and alertness. It's comforting. It eases anxiety, stress, and it's an antidepressant. In skincare, it's an anti-inflammatory, so it's good for eczema and psoriasis. And it's a really strong antioxidant, so it's going to help with premature aging. You can use it for acne and skin inflammation. Now this is important. We don't usually get exposed to this, but it treats scabies, lice, and fleas. I had a massage client expose me to scabies. He lied about what the rash was on his skin, and I learned later that he had scabies. Fortunately, I was using a massage oil that had peppermint and rosemary and lemon in it, all of which treat scabies, and I didn't get it. I'm not that polite anymore. If they have a rash, I'm like, hey, I don't know what that is. I can't treat you. In perfumery, it is a middle to top note. This is interesting. We're often entertaining and we clean the carpets before. So they talked about putting in one of the websites that I looked at, just a bucket of water and 20 drops of the essential oil in it. You could also use an emulsifier, not one that's oily. Don't use jojoba. Maybe the polysorbate or the coconut emulsifier, which you can find on the internet, and then scrub it because it's a solvent. So it'll get your stains out and it'll smell like Christmas. All right, cedar wood. Now I'm going to hand around a couple of different kinds of cedar wood. Okay, so this one is cedarwood atlanticus, and this one is cedarwood junipericus mexicana. So they will smell very different. Like we talked about, depending on where the plant is grown, it's going to smell different, and it's going to smell different year to year. So that one is the Atlantic cedarwood, and when we think of cedarwood like cedarwood fences, it's going to smell more like this one in the small jar that she sends around. So that's from one source. This is from another source.
Yeah, this is the Atlantica.
It's also Atlantica, but smell the difference between those two. See how much sweeter that is?
That's way different.
Very, very different. This is from Aromatherapy, who Marcel Lavab that I studied with, that was his company, and very, very unfortunate. The state of California was on the rampage, their truth in advertising, and they decided that they didn't like the name of his blends. One was called Respiration. Well, you can't prove that blah, 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 blah. And they sued him, and he lost his company.
Oh, no.
But it is some of the finest oils that I've ever had, and I just mourned the loss of that company. And this one smells more like the cedar wood fences. It's a very different variety.
Yeah, it smells more like the one I have from Young
Yeah.
Living.
Yep. So just be aware that they have slightly different properties, but that is cedarwood. All right, so it's a sedative. It helps reduce anxiety. It's really grounding. Cedarwood, yes.
A gentleman that we lived next door to in his 80s
Uh-huh.
would smoke pipe tobacco. And
And he had cedarwood in it.
it's cedarwood
I
in
bet it
it.
smelled good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. So it has antiseptic, antifungal, and aphrodisiac qualities, and it boosts your energy. It is also a good diuretic, so it's good for weight loss and lymphatic stimulation. And you know what? We need that for the holidays.
Yes.
We eat a lot of foods that we're not used to, and we don't always eat well because we kind of give ourselves permission, and I'm fine with that. But let's detox, right? It's a nerve tonic and lymph tonic, and of course a respiratory stimulant. This one is also recognized as a hair stimulant, so you can help grow hair. Now, cedarwood and ylang ylang together, Marcel Lavab made a mix. They smell horrible together. So usually a conifer, or it's called a balsamic, doesn't go well with flowers. Sometimes you can put that with lavender and it's okay. It was for a thing, but when you put it in your hair, it was like, no. So anyway, cedarwood has been used to treat tuberculosis for centuries. That's important. It works for stress and tension, bronchitis, coughing, and fatigue. And it helps to support you emotionally and physically. It helps to create deep relaxation, meditation, and increase spirituality. It's also good for anemia and cystitis. So if you read the Bible, they talk about the cedars of Lebanon. The cedars of Lebanon is what the Temple of Solomon was built from. And very important, and there are other religious practices that use cedarwood in their prayers and in their they diffuse it or use it as incense. So it is thought to increase spirituality. It's a sedative, antiseptic, antifungal. That's important. It boosts energy. It's a nerve tonic, lymph tonic, a respiratory stimulant. It's a diuretic, and it's an insecticide. That's good because all of the creepy crawlies want to come in where it's warmer.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So you could use cedarwood along the thresholds. Entrances. Peppermint's good for that also.
Yeah.
You're going to use it for stress, anemia, that was interesting, weight loss, and lymphatic stimulation. Bronchitis, coughing. It treats tuberculosis. I'm trying to go too fast. Cystitis, that's important. Fatigue, stress, and tension. So cystitis is a bladder infection or UTI. Emotionally, it helps reduce anxiety, sedative, grounding, and it's a reputed aphrodisiac. Now, are women going to be really excited about cedarwood? No, but the men are. So get them on board with the cedarwood. Use it to feel supported emotionally and physically and with deep relaxation. Now, I love to be outdoors. It's my tranquil place, like the temple of nature, so I love cedarwood. Skincare, it's really good for inflamed conditions such as eczema, dermatitis, and fungal infections. For hair care, it's good for oily skin, hair loss, and dandruff. This is, again, about the insecticide. It's a good repellent. It repels moths, mosquitoes. I had a moth in here 2 days ago. It came in. It's flying around while I'm trying to give it a massage. It's good for mosquitoes, woodworms. We don't have that too much. But during the holidays, you may be concerned about leeches and rats. Not really. But it's good to know, right?
Yeah.
You can put it on your dog's collar to repel fleas. All right, myrrh. I don't have myrrh, but I have frankincense.
Okay.
So they're very similar properties. Myrrh is a lot more bitter, and so it's not my favorite. But it's distilled from the sap, and they take the sap, they harvest the sap, they let it dry, and then they steam distill it. Very similar to frankincense. So it's kind of subtle, but it's kind of smoky and deep and earthy. So, that's a base note, right? And myrrh is used for sore throats and affected gums. I know Young Living has one with myrrh in it. I've used frankincense and myrrh for strep throat. Emotionally, it helps to calm and balance the emotions. In skincare, it was used for embalming. Like I mentioned, it's in my face care. It's good for wound healing, mature skin, and it's an anti-ager. It's good for cracked, dry skin, which I have a lot of. And I'm washing my hands maybe 30 times a day because I'm a massage therapist. In perfumery, it's a fixative, so it holds the blend together, or it's a base note. Now, we know, if you're reading the Bible and it's the holiday time, that frankincense, myrrh, and gold were brought to Christ as a child by the Magi. And that's because they were so valuable. These were extremely expensive. And even now, very expensive oils. They're old shrubs and trees, and frankincense is now almost an endangered species because the demand for it has gone up so much.
Oh,
and
wow.
I learned in my certification that the workers who distill the frankincense, they are subjected to a strip search every day as they leave to make sure they're not bringing out the frankincense. That it was more valuable than gold in some cultures.
Wow.
Okay, so frankincense, we sent. I did send that around.
It around, yeah.
Okay, great. It is also called olibanum or Boswellia carterii or Boswellia sacra, meaning sacred. And this one is extracted from the sap, so they let it dry into these little granules, and then they steam distill it. And I was going to get some pictures for you, but I had to go to the royalty free, and they wanted $35 for a picture of frankincense, and I'm like, you know what? You can look it up.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's used for coughs, sore throat, respiratory illness, and it's good for opening and lengthening the breath. So this would be great if you're doing your Qigong breathing. It's antiseptic, good for healing infected wounds, cystitis, again bladder infection, and dries excess mucus. Some women are particularly prone to bladder infection, and you can go through a whole round of antibiotics and not have that be resolved. So how you would use that, I'm just going to bring that up here. You would take a spray bottle. You could bottle something like this with this something with spray. You would get an emulsifier, like the coconut emulsifier, and you'd mix it with the emulsifier first, and then purified water. You don't want to be introducing any bacteria. And every time you would urinate, you would spritz this on there. So that's really important to know how to treat cystitis. And another thing that it does emotionally for us is it brings power and a sense of belonging. It's a balancer, calming, grounding, and spiritual. In skincare, it's excellent for skin. It's a cell regenerator. It's great for mature skin and wrinkles. And also it helps treat scars and stretch marks. So this is why it's so much in demand. And so we want to be responsible and use it wisely. If we can use a different oil for the thing, do. But it's going to be in my skincare. In perfumery, it's a base note, and enhancer means it brings out the scent of other essential oils. Because you notice it's kind of subtle. It's so tea tree. All right, so here is tea tree. Now, you'll notice all of my essential oils are in amber bottles. I love Trader Joe's, and I get all kinds of things there, including a nice rose water spritz that I use in my skincare. When the essential oils are distilled, there's water left behind with some of the therapeutic properties that are not essential oils. They're called a hydrosol. So orange, chamomile, and rose water are all really good in skincare as a hydrosol. So I use the rose water on my face and hydrate it, and then I seal that in with the jojoba and the essential oils. Yeah, works really well. So tea tree is, besides lavender, the most universal oil. It's used for almost anything. It has amazing properties. But it is not my favorite smell. It's just really bright. It grows in Australia. There's an entire company, Melaleuca, that is the genus, species name. And they've built a whole company on that, and they have some good products. But I like to use tea tree to change the smell a little bit with lemon. It's a nice amplifier, and or spearmint, which are really nice. Or you could use those all together, and that way, I mean, because you're not going to diffuse tea tree straight. People would leave, right? Okay, so it is a great air purifier, though. It works for sore throats and earaches. You can use it in a gargle. You could put it with vinegar. I hate the smell of vinegar, but it has really good therapeutic properties. So if you wanted to make a mouthwash, you could put a couple of drops of either clove or tea tree, or you could put those two together and shake it up, make sure it's really emulsified, and then you can gargle with that. It is always known as an antifungal. So it kills mold, candida. You can use it for mold on your surfaces, that sort of thing. You can spray it around in the air. It's a good lymphatic drainer. It's used extensively in dental products, good for bad breath, but it's not my favorite smell. If somebody came up to me with tea tree, I'd probably be moving the other direction. Maybe with a little peppermint. It's a good deodorant. It works on cold sores and warts. Both of those are viruses. So it's good for acute conditions such as wounds and insect bites. You can put it neat. So lavender and tea tree are the only two that you can use undiluted or neat on the skin. So you can do that. You could use that on mosquito bites, insect bites. It also heals scars. It's good for every type of skin. Some are more for mature skin, some are more for oily skin, some more for dry skin, but any of them. It's good for acne, blackheads, eczema, psoriasis, and it's really good for dandruff. Vetiver, we sent that around. That was that deep, woodsy. Matt said, that smells like dirt. And it just depends on what your association is with it. The first time I smelled it, I didn't like it. And then I had it in some blends, and it's become my favorite. Vetiver and blue chamomile is outrageously wonderful. Blue chamomile turns blue during the distillation process, and it smells a little bit like blueberries. It's really interesting. So vetiver is an anti-inflammatory. It's cytophylactic, meaning it helps with cell regeneration or cell growth. So as we age, the cell turnover slows down dramatically. So it's a really good one to have in skincare. And it's an antioxidant, so it's going to fight free radicals. And free radicals damage the cell. That's basically what causes the aging process inside our bodies and outside. And vetiver helps increase the function of white blood cells, so it's going to stimulate your immunity. It decreases anxiety, irritability, angry, and are you ready? Neurotic behavior. So if you know somebody who is exhibiting neurotic behavior, get your vetiver out and spray it around in the room. It also helps to promote sleep, and it boosts libido and immune response. This is interesting. It repels termites. So you could put vetiver around the foundation of your house in a spray. We had a tree cut down, and it sat there because I don't wield an axe, and it got a lot of termites in it. And so I just put that in there because I didn't know any other ones that do. It's good for pain and inflammation. So arthritis, rheumatism. It boosts the immune system. It's good for physical and mental exhaustion, which again we experienced during the holidays. And it's really good for respiratory illnesses like coughs and colds. It also works on the intestinal system. So when we talked about where it's distilled from, it kind of corresponds with where it is on our body. So anything that it's distilled from the root, it's going to be good for digestion. So ginger, root, digestion. Vetiver, root, digestion. It's good for PMS symptoms. And in skincare, it's excellent for wrinkles, healing wounds, and acne. It also improves scars caused by acne and stretch marks. You know, they get the scars even if they don't have the pocked mark. There's, the discolorations. It's good for that. It's used very extensively in perfumery for both men's and women's perfumes. So it's a fixative, holding everything together, or a base note. And this is one that showed 100% improvement in concentration with people who have ADD. Pretty impressive. Cinnamon bark. Now I've got a couple of cinnamon. Okay, so one is bark and one is leaves. This is an Aromatherapy, and this one is cinnamon bark. So that's leaf and bark.
Okay.
They smell very different. They have similar properties. So this one is a skin irritant.
That's
We
the
do not want to be using this in high concentrations on the skin. But it has been prized for centuries and associated with wealth. And it stimulates the libido. It's spicy. And it was also used by the four thieves to prevent catching the plague. It's highly antiseptic. So
Doesn't smell like cinnamon either.
it doesn't smell like cinnamon to you?
No,
Yeah.
not at all.
So, you know, when we get the like the cinnamon pine cones that you buy, it's not essential oil. It's a synthetic. So it's going to smell different. That's why I wanted you to experience the different essential oils and where they're grown from. I bought lavender. Aromatherapy used to have a Tasmanian lavender. It was the sweetest. Oh my gosh. Unbelievable sweet lavender. Lavender can have kind of a bitter afternote to it, depending on what variety it is. But it was amazing. So yeah, the leaf and the bark smell different, but that is why cinnamon's one that's easily replicated synthetically, but no therapeutic properties. So cinnamon, clove, the thing I want you to remember about those two are they are probably the most strongest antiseptic. So they're going to kill germs and bacteria. And cinnamon and clove also have anti-cancer properties. They're also anti-parasitic. Now these are spices that are used a lot in cooking during the holidays, and they're going to help keep your tummy happy.
Yeah.
We use them for stimulating immunity and fighting infectious diseases, which we're exposed to a lot of, respiratory illness, used for circulation, anti-inflammatory, and it's an excellent antioxidant. So that's going to help with the aging process or toxicity inside and out. Emotionally, it helps lift the spirits, it fights stress, and it can help create restful sleep. Now that would, to me, that was debatable. It's a very strong stimulant. So I don't know if that would help create restful sleep, but several websites said that it did. So in skincare, you know, I wouldn't put this on my face cream or face oil. No way. However, if you have a wound that's not healing, absolutely. So you dilute it. It's a really good antioxidant. It's going to fight free radicals. And it will treat staph, fungus, anything that has been resistant to healing. I saw a website that talked about taking like jojoba oil and a toothbrush. My lips are always so dry, but particularly during the winter. And scrubbing your lips with the toothbrush and cinnamon leaf. And I thought, ow!
Yeah. That
But,
doesn't sound good.
Anything that would help my lips to stay hydrated and not
Yeah.
crack would be good. So I would use it again, really, really diluted. And I would use it with jojoba. In hair care, it stimulates the scalp and helps fight free radicals. So it's going to bring nourishment here. And so the last place that our body takes the nourishment we get is hair, skin, and nails. So if you don't have good diet, it's gonna show up in your skin, how your nails grow, and your hair. It's used extensively in potpourri, room sprays, and diffusers. Clove, I love clove. So this one, I always make sure I have organic clove because I do take it internally. And organic clove smells different. So
You can still smell its clove.
yeah, you'd know. So it is one of the top antiseptic oils, and it's also a top antioxidant oil. It's an aphrodisiac, an intellectual stimulant, and also a respiratory stimulant. When you smell them, you kind of understand, oh yeah, I feel that here or here in your body. When you smell peppermint, you know, hey, that's working on my lungs and sinuses and my eyes,
Yeah.
right? So clove is a stomachic meaning it helps stomach issues. It's antibiotic, antiviral, analgesic, cuts pain. It's antiparasitic, that is important. And it's anti-diabetic, so it helps lower glucose levels. It's going to improve blood circulation. And it's one that I used on my sister to help with the horrible swelling all over her body. It's numbing. It's a numbing agent, so it will help with pain. And I diluted it with, at that time, with rubbing alcohol because it was absorbed really quickly into the skin. You would use it for digestive issues. Now, nothing's more unpleasant than having tummy troubles when you're in a social gathering. So you can use it for things like reducing gas, stomach upset, and diarrhea, or weight loss. So this is another one. If you take clove, I keep clove in my purse because I will take a drop of clove and use it for breath deodorant, right? So you have good breath. And nobody's offended by clove. In fact, I guess they have clove cigarettes, right? I don't want you smoking those.
Gum.
I remember. Was it Beeman's or something?
Beeman's, yeah.
Loved that. Yeah. And so it's really, really powerful for pain killing. They use, I'm trying to think now. I saw a study where they used clove as an anesthetic and also anesthesia. Okay, so it killed the pain, but also they used it to knock people out.
Wow.
So it's used in Europe in different ways than we do. It's a great pain reliever. It works for headaches, gout, tuberculosis, cancer, shingles. If you've ever had shingles,
Oh, yeah.
I hope you don't. Extremely painful, I'm told.
Yeah, I had it on my head.
Oh no, my sister, the same one who was in the hospital for a month, she got shingles shortly after that. She had a really rough high school stint. Okay, and it's good for warts. So you could dilute that slightly and apply it to a wart, with a Q-tip or whatever. It's also good for poison oak or poison ivy. So that'd be a good thing to have in your first aid kit if you're going out hiking. It's excellent for toothache and inflamed gums and sore throat. I read a study that was about using a drop of clove on the tongue. Now it's going to be really strong, so you may want to dilute it, but it helps for cigarette cravings. When they have nicotine cravings, they can use that. In skin care, I need to slow it down, I'm trying to go too fast. It helps with increased blood flow, wrinkles, sagging, anti-aging, and it decreases scars, and it works for herpes, so like cold sores, right? In hair care, it stimulates the scalp and hair follicles, so it also helps with hair growth. But again, it is a painkiller in the right dilution, and it is extremely irritating in high doses. Now, this is one that you don't want to use and then get anywhere, around your eyes. So I may have mentioned it. I don't know if it was in the last one or this one, but if you need to dilute an essential oil that you've got near your face or in a sensitive area, again, you're going to use vegetable oil or jojoba, and that will dilute it. All right, geranium. So I've got a couple of different geraniums.
Somewhere.
It's going to be over here. Geranium. Okay, so there's rose geranium and geranium. So smell this one first and then the rose afterwards.
Okay.
So geranium has wonderful properties, especially for skincare. It's used a lot in cosmetics. And it's an emotional balancer. And it's used to extend a blend. It's a middle note. But it's a balancer. So it can be sedating or stimulating depending on what your body needs. Interestingly, if you garden, there's lots and lots of varieties of geranium, but only 10 produce essential oils. Now this one is rose geranium, okay? So you can kind of smell a little bit of rosy-like. And so rose essential oil, we talked about, it takes 350 rose buds to make a drop. So often rose is adulterated with rose geranium. So they'll take the rose essential oil and mix it with this and sell it for a lot more than they would sell rose geranium. But rose geranium is what I'm going to focus on here. So general properties of geranium are it's antiseptic, it's diuretic, it's a female hormone balancer. So this is one that you want to avoid in the first months of pregnancy. For skincare, it's majorly used in skincare. It's an astringent, it's going to tighten the skin. It's good for cell regeneration, wound healing, cuts, burns, aged or chapped skin. I saw a study where they used geranium on MRSA. It was astounding. In perfumery, it's a middle to top note. It's kind of earthy. It's a little bit of substance to it, so you can see how it would be a middle note, but most of the flowers are top notes. So this is both. So the rose geranium was used by the Egyptians to promote beautiful, healthy skin. So the Egyptians were really, really into preserving skin. And so rose geranium was used. And it has a balancing effect on the nervous system, but very similar properties to the regular geranium. It's good for inflammatory processes like eczema, dermatitis. Congested skin means blackheads. It's good for that. It's an antifungal, so it's good for candida, athlete's foot, ringworm. And it's detoxifying through its diuretic action. So whether you put it on your skin or you breathe it in, it's going to help with excess water weight. It's also an excellent deodorant. So if you were going to make natural deodorant, which I have a recipe for, geranium is a really good one, particularly for women. Now, if you mix geranium with, say, pine or spruce, then it would pick up the pine or spruce and be more of a men's deodorant. It helps fight cold, flu, and sinus infection. And that kind of surprised me. That wasn't intuitive as I smelled that it works on the respiratory system. It does reduce nerve pain and hemorrhaging. So again, wound healing. So if you have a really heavy period, or you have a wound or you have ulcers, geranium's going to be good for that. It's also good for menopausal problems because it's a hormonal plant. It has phytoestrogen. In skincare, it heals scars. It's astringent, going to tighten the skin. It promotes healthy skin. It's a wrinkle reducer. And it keeps a balance between the oily and dry skin. So it promotes supple skin. And like lavender, it treats bug bites. On the glands and organs, again, it's a hormonal properties because it is a phytoestrogen, a plant estrogen. And it works on, this surprised me, again, adrenal glands. So it's good if you're having adrenal exhaustion. Some people don't go into full-on adrenal failure, but their adrenal glands will become fatigued because they're in fight or flight too much. So it's good for that. And it's a lymphatic system balancer. And emotionally, it's a major oil in helping to regulate mood. So it's uplifting and sedating. It's an emotional balancer. It's calming. It reduces stress and lifts depression. And it is a middle note. This is kind of in the middle. Some say it's a top note too. But rose geranium is a little more deep in its smell, so that's why they put it in the middle. All right, lavender. So I've got a couple of different lavenders to smell. I would say smelling lavender will give you a really good clue as to the quality of that line of essential oils.
I love lavender.
I do too. So this one is, let's see, what is the, does it say ST on it? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So this one is French lavender. The French lavender looks like the lavender with the little rabbit ears.
Oh.
Okay. So it's also, the genus and species is Lavender stoicis. And so this one has some chemical properties that are a little bit different than this one, which is Lavender augustifolia. Lavender stoicis is a really good cell regenerator.
This says oil of French lavender too.
Uh-huh. And they do. And so you have to look at the genus and species, augustifolia.
This is black.
I have a warmer
Yeah.
that is lavender inside and it smells just like that lavender.
Yeah. This is the one that's used more in skincare and perfumery. And it's the sweeter lavender. The Tasmanian lavender that I smelled, if I could get my hands on some, I would pay probably any amount of money for it. It's amazing. So the Lavender stoicis is used in bug repellents, and it produces a lot more essential oil, and so it's a little bit lesser therapeutic quality. So they will often cut the Lavender augustifolia with the Lavender stoicis and sell it for the higher price. So this is again why you need to know who your distributors are, who your dealers are. That sounded funny. You know what I mean. All right. It is the universal oil. If you can think of something that lavender doesn't help, then, tell me about it. I sent lavender in my kids' backpacks at school because they can't take prescriptions or anything with them. My son is allergic to mosquito bites, and he'll get a histamine mark that's, a size of a quarter 50-cent piece. And so he put the lavender on it. One day he didn't bring the lavender, and I got a call from the nurse at school, and she's like, your son's in the nurse's office and he's got a really bad bug bite and he's asking for lavender? I'll be right over. And she was amazed. I mean, the histamine bump went away in like 5 minutes. So it works on burns, like we talked about, headaches. It's antiseptic, antiviral, antibiotic, antifungal, and antispasmodic, so it's going to stop muscle spasm. It balances the motions. It eases nervous exhaustion and depression, and it's calming. This is important. It reduces anger. Now, it's also good for trauma and shock. I like to do my deep breathing, my Qigong breathing, when I feel angry. There are a few things that reliably make me angry. Poor customer service and somebody messing around with my safety on the freeway.
Yeah.
So, lavender in my diffuser. Research indicates that lavender may increase erectile response in men. So good for ED. Sure beats $15 a pill. Okay, skincare. It heals wounds, prevents scarring from burns and cuts and abrasions it works on. It increases cell regeneration, so it's really good in skincare. Reduces inflammation, acne, bug bites, and itching. And it treats puncture wounds. Tell you a story about that. When Ashley was a baby, I was nursing her. It was the middle of the night. I'm very nearsighted. Didn't put my glasses on, and it was dark. And there was a needle in my carpet. And I stepped on it with enough force that it drove it in so far we had to use pliers. My husband had to pull it out with pliers. It was very painful. And it's, 3 a.m. I had my tetanus shot, but I remembered that lavender will keep the puncture wound open so it doesn't create the sepsis and the bacteria. So I put some lavender oil on there, neat, undiluted, and then I nursed her and then I went back to bed. By morning, there was no pain, no inflammation, and I could stand on it. That was astounding because it was really in there. So remember, lavender puncture wounds. It can be used undiluted. It's good for sensitive skin and acne, heals eczema, and it is a major note in all perfumery and essential oil blends. Middle to top note. Okay, ylang ylang. This one is kind of a heady, almost overwhelming oil. It's used for, it's a big oil in cosmetics and perfumery. Ylang ylang means flowers. That's why they say it twice.
Like
It's-
Walla Walla.
Yes. A lot of people will try to say it ylang ylang. No, ylang ylang. It's an antidepressant, sedative, aphrodisiac. It's calming and euphoric. By itself, you'd be like, I don't think I want to wear that.
Yeah.
But when you mix it with other flowers, or particularly orange or geranium, it's beautiful. In fact, this is a face oil with geranium and ylang ylang. It's a nice blend and it's really anti-aging. You would use it for anger, stress, disappointment. Changes it a lot when you mix it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Use it for anger, stress, disappointment. It's good for insomnia, impotence and frigidity, heart palpitations. It's recognized for heart palpitations, which is important. Reduces high blood pressure. So it's an oil of the heart, and it's antispasmodic. It's a major skincare oil. You use it for oily skin, mature skin, acne, or anti-aging. And as I mentioned before, it's recognized by the FDA for hair growth. It's a fixative, so it's a base note. Even though it's a flower, it's really deep when you smell it. So now we're going to go on to the mints, and then we're going to do the citruses, and then we're done. So we've got peppermint and spearmint. Peppermint works on the stomach. It stimulates the lungs and the nervous system. It's an antidepressant. It's tonic. It's a mental stimulant. It's refreshing, and it relieves fatigue. It's
It
good
just
for.
makes you feel good smelling
It does. It's very happy and bright, and it's clearly a top note. When you smell it, you know that. You can put a drop of it behind your occiput here, and it'll cure a headache almost immediately. So spearmint's a little bit more mild, right? But spearmint that variety of mint came before peppermint. The peppermint is a hybridized variety.
Oh.
So we use it for asthma, headaches, sinusitis, allergies, and it's a known aphrodisiac. I can't remember which Greek military guy would not let his soldiers anywhere near peppermint because he felt that it was an aphrodisiac and that they would all go mad. It would not be good soldiers. They'd be doing something else. So in skincare, it's good for acne, dermatitis, and itchy skin. And you want to be careful using it because it can be a skin irritant. So use that diluted. I told you my story. Definitely a skin irritant. And spearmint, it's similar, but it's a little more mild. It's a stimulant, obviously. When you smell it, you can tell that. So it decreases mental fatigue. It's going to keep you a little bit more alert. And it's also good for headaches, sinusitis, depression, fatigue, and mental strain. It's one that's really nice to diffuse. I like spearmint and lemon together. Spearmint's excellent for hay fever. Whereas peppermint it's really strong and it can kind of burn your eyes. The spearmint is nicer for that. In skincare, it's good for cleansing, acne, and dermatitis. Obviously, top note. When you smell it, you can tell. All right, clary sage is known as the oil of laughter. Now, I cannot find a good clary sage like they had with Aromatherapy. The Aromatherapy, it was really deep, almost a bass note. This is very high, top note. But this is what you find now. So the clary sage is, again, very much in demand.
Young Living has just clary. It doesn't have a clary sage.
It's actually clary sage, but it's the same. It is the same, yes. Okay. Again, it's called oil of laughter or known as that because it helps make you feel happy. Now, this is another one that people either like the smell of or they don't, so you would mix it. It helps overcome poor memory and insomnia. It's very much a balancer, antidepressant, euphoric, aphrodisiac. It decreases fear, depression, and are you ready? Paranoia. You know, that is a real issue for some people. And if you were around someone who had paranoia, you might run into people in your line of work with paranoia. And so diffusing, clary sage. It promotes grounding and a feeling of being supported. It's good for ED and increases testosterone. So this is, again, a natural substance that can be used for that. In skincare, it's a major oil in skincare. It's good for normal, mature, or dry skin, so it's a skin balancer. And it's a middle to base note. This one smells more bright, so it could be more of the top note. It's a hormonal. It's got phytoestrogen, so it's a hormonal stimulant. Don't use it in the beginning of pregnancy. Now, when we think of citruses, we feel happy. They just make us feel happy. So I'm going to give them all to you and go through them as we are.
Okay.
I'm going to take a swig of water here. Bergamot. Okay, so I'm going to send you with this one first, and then you can come back for that. 2 different kinds of bergamot here.
Okay.
Bergamot is a little Italian citrus, and it's used in the major flavor in Earl Grey tea. So if you've ever had Earl Grey tea, you'll recognize bergamot. It's really good for, do you want me to help you? You got it? That one has a child-proof cap. I'm sorry.
It did. That's why I couldn't open it.
Right?
Not a child.
Exactly. It increases enzymes in bile, so it's going to work on our digestive stimulating our digestive system. It is also a stimulant. When you smell it, you can kind of tell that. It is very much working on the hormonal system. It increases feelings of well-being. It's an antidepressant, antiseptic, antifungal. This one works for diabetes. It's a hormone regulator and improves metabolic rate. It expels intestinal parasites. So this is going to be sushi eater's friend. It helps regulate insulin production. Anytime you've traveled into foreign countries, particularly like I went to Mexico and I was very careful. I was on a cruise, but I picked up a parasite and I was sick for months. So it's good to know which ones work with parasites. So if you needed to use that for digestion, you'd rub a couple of drops on your abdomen with the carrier oil, and you always rub in the direction of digestion, okay? So right to left. It's a good deodorant. You could use it as a breath freshener. I think it would taste kind of funky, but apparently it works well for that. Or maybe you can just drink your Earl Grey tea and then you're set to go. Emotionally, it's refreshing. It does smell refreshing. It's relaxing, uplifting. It's an emotional balancer. Decreases anxiety, soothes fear, and grounding. And outside we have the yard work going on. Hopefully that's not too distracting. In skincare, it reduces acne marks, it balances oily skin, it lightens dark spots affected by melanin, and it has strong wound healing processes. Now, I was going to add something, but I'll stay on track here. In hair care, it works for dandruff and itching. It's used in hair rinse, so you can put it in after you've washed and conditioned your hair. At the end, just rinse your hair with it. Very refreshing. Now, all of the citruses, remember this. I would not put a citrus oil in a face oil that I would use in the daytime. Use it as your night oil because it increases photosensitivity and you could get more sunspots, which is not what we want. But the citruses are all really good antioxidants, so they're great for skincare. Just remember at night. Grapefruit. I love grapefruit. It's wonderful in blends. It extends things. It is a stimulant, so it's going to work a lot with helping with water retention and with digestive issues. It stimulates the immune system. It's also antiparasitic, antifungal, and anti-inflammatory. This one has been extensively studied for weight loss, and it's really effective. Check this out. Even inhaling grapefruit, just like you did, has been shown to reduce adipose tissue, fat, just inhaling it. And it's a good detox and liver cleanse. It works with the gallbladder and liver. It stimulates those. So it's really good for all your whole body. It works for respiratory and throat infections. That I wouldn't have thought of, but I know lemon and honey, we think about that for sore throats, so okay. It's good for muscle aches. It decreases blood pressure, headaches, hangover, and this is one that works with the adrenal fatigue. It's uplifting, and you feel that when you smell it. It's refreshing, reduces stress. In skincare, it's an astringent. It's going to tighten your skin, and it's going to be good for oily skin. You think of it, it has a certain, acidity to it when you feel a grapefruit or the essential oil, so it would make sense that that's going to be for oily skin. In perfumery, it's a middle to top note. So we got the lemon. It's a tonic, so it's mildly invigorating everywhere. It stimulates the body. Again, diuretic, immunostimulant, antiviral, antifungal. It's a good degreaser. So if you want to put lemon drops in your detergent for either your laundry or your dish soap, it's great. Very good antioxidant, and it's detoxifying. So obviously we use it for digestive issues, cramps. It's used for acid indigestion, which is kind of surprising to me because when you think of lemonade, you think of acidic, but it's apparently good for that. It's really good for allergies, so you could put lemon and spearmint together for hay fever. It's good for inflamed sinuses, sore throat, laryngitis. So if you're talking too much, like I am today, it's really good in sick room sprays. And so you could put that with cinnamon, lavender, clove, any of those, and it would really extend the antiseptic value of that. And that one was one that was diffused and shown to reduce keyboarding errors by, I think it was 30%. It's obviously an antidepressant and uplifting. It's also the memory stimulant, like we just talked about. In skincare, it's an astringent. It's used for cold sores, eczema, and deodorant. And it's good for dandruff. I did not know it was antifungal, so that's important. And it's a middle to top note. So many of these have similar properties, but they have a little bit different smell, so depending on what you want to do. Lime is used extensively in men's colognes and aftershaves. Men love lime. I love lime too, but it's also a digestive stimulant. It's antibiotic, antiseptic, antiviral, and it's a lymphatic stimulant. And there's a wide variety in smells with lime too, which is interesting.
Got another one here.
This is good for tetanus. Now, of course get your tetanus shot, but that's important. They had studies where it showed it was very effective on gangrene. You don't want to see those pictures. Ulcers, so bed sores. Skin inflammation, rashes, psoriasis, fever, respiratory illness. That kind of surprised me too. I wouldn't go, oh, respiratory. So flu, colds, cough, mumps, measles, toothache. Now, that'd be nice, clove and lime together for toothache blend. This was so interesting to me. It's an astringent, so it helps tighten the tissues. It is used to help keep the gums tight, so the teeth in place. Wow.
Oh.
Who knew? I put that in there because I thought that was interesting. It has been used to treat typhoid, diarrhea, and food poisoning. Now, diarrhea and food poisoning are something that we're definitely exposed to in the holidays. So, lime's your friend. It's an astringent. It works for wrinkles. It's antioxidant and anti-aging. This one also works for hair loss. So, ylang with lime would be really nice. Rather than the cedarwood, right? Because you've got, In perfumery, it's a middle to top note. Orange. And this is another one, orange. If you smell lavender, you smell orange, and maybe a geranium in any particular line, you're going to have a good idea of the quality of that line. So, orange is a stimulant. Orange is a major oil. It's an extender. You can smell 1 drop of jasmine in an entire ounce, 350 drops of orange. So it's used to hold a blend together, but also to extend it. So whatever you put with orange, it's going to smell a little bit more like whatever you put it with.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. So it's one you really want to have in your aromatherapy apothecary. It's a general tonic. It's good for the whole body. It's highly antiseptic. I saw studies of E. coli, orange killing E. coli on food. It's a powerful diuretic, so it aids in weight loss and lymphatic stimulation. It's also a good digestive stimulant. You remember at Christmas time, they'll have the oranges with the cloves studded in there. Yeah, so it's kind of a Christmassy or holiday thing. And that's been since Renaissance, medieval times.
Oh, yeah.
You use it for insomnia, heart palpitations, and high blood pressure. And it reduces blood pressure by several points just smelling it. So sending that around there, you're all going to be a little bit more relaxed, less tension there. It's good for general well-being, nervous tension, lymphatic circulation and swelling, and detoxification. It's really good for the immune system. Obviously, it's uplifting, antidepressant, all the citruses are euphoric. And it's good for heartache and feelings of isolation. And I like that word heartache. Well, I don't really like it, but it's very descriptive. When we're sad, we literally have heart pain. Our chest can hurt. So orange is really good for that. And that can happen in the holidays. People behave badly when they get together.
Yes.
Often. It decreases hysteria and anxiety. And orange is really good for kids. It's good for drier, mature skin. And now we're done with all of the properties and the oils we're going to cover. I'm going to tell you some blending basics, and then we're really quickly I'm going to mix some up and spray them, and you can smell them. So, the things that blend together, this is probably one of the more important things about this seminar. And I've never been taught anywhere else but the aromatherapy certification. So, fruits and flowers blend together well. You can imagine that. Balsamic means the trees or the conifers, so pines, spruce, and also eucalyptus. And spice and herbs, or green, they would call that in perfumery, that's a green note. Woody are the cedarwood, sandalwood, and vetiver. Vetiver is a root, but it smells very woody, smoky, okay? So the things that work together, fruits and flowers, that's pretty obvious. You can think about that in your head. Fruits and spice, pretty obvious. Woods and spice. So I'll send around my holiday blend and you'll smell the woods and spice together. And then herbs like mint or clary sage and balsamic, which are the pines and that kind of thing. Now, not usually good. Remember we talked about the flowers and the balsamic? So cedarwood and ylang ylang was not my favorite. It had really great therapeutic value, but the smell wasn't my favorite. The exception to that is lavender. You can put spruce and lavender together and they're going to work. All right. Then we talk about dilutions. And when you use it for the body for general massage purposes or overall well-being, you're going to use 50 to 60 drops in 4 ounces. Then when you're getting more specific, let's say you have tendonitis or some arthritis and you want to make a blend for that, then it's 50 to 60 in 2 ounces of a carrier oil. And for acute doses, let's say you have a boil, that would be 50 to 60 drops in 1 ounce. And that is also something you'd use maybe on the reflexology points in the foot. You must have a carrier because they are not fat soluble. You have to mix them with, they're not water soluble, they're fat soluble. So in order for them to be absorbed into the lipid barrier of our skin, which is fat, we have to use a carrier. So in bath salts, which we're going to be making, you would use 10 to 15 drops in about a cup of Epsom salt. You put the Epsom salt, or you can mix it with sea salt as well. You put the Epsom salt there, you put the essential oils in it, you mix it up, you crumble it up. I do this every day in the foot baths. And then you draw the bath. Just before you get in, put in the essential oils and Epsom salt. Otherwise, your room smells great and there's no therapeutic value left for you in your bath water. Okay? If you're going to do something like this, which is 12 ounces, then you would use 50 drops in the whole thing. You'd fill it up halfway, put the essential oils in, shake it up, put the rest in, shake it up again so that it disperses that. And you'd use 2 tablespoons per bath. So those are really nice gifts. I love those. Inhalation, let's say you have a sinus infection or you want to do a nice steam for your face. You get a big bowl of water, as hot as you can, put the essential oil drops on that. You can use a dispersant, but you don't have to because it's not making contact with your skin. Use a towel, put it over that, and breathe that in. They also have, I was looking to see if I had it over there, they have steamers that you can buy for your sinuses or for your face. I'm trying to remember what brand it was, but I have one. I think it's actually in that cupboard. And you can use it when you're sick. So you put the little felt pad in there with 1 drop of essential oil, and it is amazing for clearing the sinus and opening the lungs. In the face oil, I sent that around. You would use a half ounce of jojoba and only 10 drops. If your skin is really sensitive, you could use half that. So I sent around the ylang ylang and geranium. This is my breathing mix. In a hair oil, you'd use 50 drops in 2 ounces. So that's really concentrated, but you're going to be detoxifying, and then you want that for either dandruff or hair growth. So that one is to open up your lungs and sinuses. All right, and so that concludes staying healthy and happy for the holidays. And I'm going to do a quick demonstration. I'm going to move this out of the way carefully so as not to drop it. Okay. So this is the holiday blend, and I'm going to put it in the room spray. It has clove and cinnamon and lots of this, about 1/4 ounce of the spruce and 1/4 ounce of the fir needle oil, and then the spices, sorry, I'm trying to focus on finding the witch hazel, are just about 5 drops each. So it smells really woodsy and nice. This is brand new, so witch hazel is your friend. This is great for, it's an astringent. I do use the one that has about 10 to 14% alcohol, and that is because it will be a solvent. It dissolves the essential oils, so it disperses them. And the witch hazel is really good moisturizer, so they kind of counteract each other. So if I'm making a room spray or anything that I put on the body, I like to use witch hazel instead of vodka. But in a room spray, you could put 2 teaspoons or 2 tablespoons of vodka, put your essential oils in, mix that up, and then you top it off with water. So this is a 3-ounce bottle. I'm gonna put carefully, dripping. I probably should have had this measured out before. Okay, so I got a basically a couple tablespoons. And then, do you have that holiday blend? Is this it?
Yeah.
And there's the lid. Okay, so where's my dropper? So this is all mixed up, but you can just do individual drops if you're going to do that. But I don't want to take that time. Now, if you drip essential oils on plastic, it will eat right through them. So this is roughly 15 drops each time. 30. I will do 4 of these. That'll get me 60 drops. You can use up to 75 drops in 4 ounces for room spray because you want that really concentrated. And then put the lid on because if that spills, that will be bad. And then you put the lid on, shake it up really well. So you want your dispersant to mix with the essential oils before you dilute it with the water. And then you use the water. Use distilled water so it doesn't have the bacteria in it. And also use distilled water if you're going to be using it in any of your skincare. So you could make a body spritzer like this with much less essential oils. How are we doing? One thing about the dark bottles, it's hard to tell where you are with your liquid. All right. And so, and I have all of these for sale. I bought all kinds of things because this is what I do for Christmas. Yes, I celebrate Christmas, but if you don't, that's fine with me too. You can call it Happy Holidays. But this is all about holiday smell, right? This is me not tripping.
Yeah.
I won't spray it in your faces. No wafting. Now you'll smell it. You smell it? Isn't that nice?
It is.
Sure beats. Febreze has formaldehyde in it. They preserve bodies in formaldehyde. Okay.
Yes, they do.
Yeah. You don't want that. So this is the Happy Holidays. I'm going to show you a face oil. I'm really trying not to step on my cords here. So you'd use jojoba. Trader Joe's has really nice jojoba for not a lot of money. I also bought an organic jojoba online, which is nice. So in the face oil, this is 1/2 ounce. I like 1/2 ounce because it's nice and standard. You would put. So fill things about halfway. Put your essential oils in, mix it up, and then top it off. So I find it much faster to use a dropper for the essential oils than to try to use,
Yes.
they call it an orifice reducer. Isn't that a special word?
It is.
So that's my jojoba. Okay, so my face oil. Did I
It's a
send that
little
on?
green bottle right there.
I have holiday. Oh, I've opened the lid. So that's why I can't read it. ADD. Okay. So this one would be 10 drops. I don't worry too much about cross-contamination because it's just very little of the oil that would go in there. So I don't mind using the dropper twice. Now, I'm going to mix that up, top it up with jojoba, and send it around. And you guys can use this on your hand or whatever. This is the geranium and ylang ylang. It's going to be all over any type of skin, but especially good for aging skin. Jojoba. And I like these dropper bottles. I like the green. Isn't that beautiful?
It is pretty.
I hadn't seen green before. Okay, so that's the face oil. In the bath salts. This is like pretty much the most basic gift that you could give. This is just Epsom salts. Go down and get a big bag of it at your local pharmacy. And this one, I'm going to put the Breathe Easy mix in it so that if they wanted an immune stimulant or they wanted to stay well and they wanted to energize, this would be the one. So I just kind of expel the last bit of essential oil onto a napkin there. Now this one is going to use about 60 drops. So if I squeeze it and bring it up, that's about 15, 30, 45. It doesn't have to be an exact science. Some it does. And the face oil, that's going to count, but so put the lid on this. This is my Breathe Easy Mix. Put a lid on it. Shake it really hard so that they don't get a chunk of bath oil with, or bath salts with the essential oil in it. See, it's kind of moist, so you'll see that. Then you put this in the top. You know what else I like to do is this makes it really pretty, and these are organic dried rose petals. I had to look hard for these. They're not so big that they're going to plug the drain when it goes down, but it adds a nice texture that you can feel when you're bathing, and it adds a nice look to it. Now, if you didn't want the little granules to stick on the sides, you could get a mason jar, mix it all up, and then pour it in. But that's not how we did it today. And then I just put like a little bow around it. Maybe put it in a little decorative bag. And I'll let you pass that around. So that is the breathing mix, which will help keep you well. What else have we got here? This one is headache blend. I'll let you smell that. And then another thing that you could do is for a bath salt, you can customize them. So you can get the immunity stimulant, which would be like that, the breathing mix. This is a sedative. So this is stress relief. I'm going to walk around. This one has more lavender in it. These are exactly the same oils, but this one has more orange in it.
Oh yeah.
Very different, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So this one has more lavender. And this one has more orange. Which one do you like more?
Lavender.
Lavender. More orange. This one has more lavender. And this one more orange. They smell different. So it just depends. Like this one has more, about 2/3 lavender, and this one has about 2/3 orange. So, all right. So that's how you would do it. We have now gone through. Oh, deodorant. I want to show you the deodorant. Okay, because in the recipes that I have in the handout for you is we use deodorants that block our ability to detox. We need to perspire. Maybe we don't want huge stained armpits, but I also don't like slimy armpits from the deodorant that never washes out and ruins my clothes. So a natural deodorant, where we go? There it is. You're going to use a couple of tablespoons of witch hazel again, which is going to tighten things. It's going to tighten the skin. Man, the dropper is not helpful here. I didn't know. It would probably be easier without that. Okay, so I got a couple of tablespoons here. And then you use 1/4 cup of, also a lid that has not been opened yet, aloe vera. So it's antibacterial. It's going to stick a little bit, so it's not going to evaporate quite as much, but it doesn't leave you sticky. I've been using this recipe in natural deodorant for a couple of years, and I think that this would be better. I haven't done it in that little thing. I mixed it up in a big mason jar first and then did it, which obviously that would be more helpful. You put the essential oils in here. Which one? I'm just going to use the stress relief blend with the lavender because everything in here would work equally well. And so for the deodorant you wouldn't use as much. You don't want it to be irritating under the arms, especially because we usually shave our armpits, although there's a big trend now to not shave the armpits.
Like the Europeans don't.
Yeah, it's not my thing. So you can make whatever blend you want to, but I've got about 5 recipes for women's deodorant and men's deodorant. In the men's deodorant, you can put the oils that boost testosterone. So the clary sage, the cedarwood, the vetiver, and they all like those. So it's a sneaky plan to help. I don't see. I will use this. I don't want to stick my fingers in there. So the essential oils are emulsified in the. So there we go. I forgot to tell everyone to turn it off. They're emulsified in the aloe vera. So let's see. It's going to be too thick. So then the idea is mix it in a mason jar, shake the lid and pour it in. So I'm not going to take any more time doing that at this moment, but I will call that a demonstration. Oh, okay. Then in the recipes, I talk about if you want to have a sanitizer that's healthy and antibacterial and not toxic, because a lot of them are. Simple Green, I'm not promoting a brand, but I do use this, or LOC, liquid organic concentrate, or yeah, I love that. You can use that in your mop water. You can use it here. You'd mix it with the concentrate, so the LOC or the Simple Green, put the essential oils with it, mix it up, and then add your water. And then this is your countertop spray and disinfect your sinks. Then, like I mentioned, you can get all kinds of lotions, which I always get for gifts, particularly at Christmas time. But they have things in them that I don't want. So it probably took me 20 years to find the best massage oil, I think, on the planet. I don't mind promoting this one. It's called Bon Vital. It's Organica, and it has all kinds of wonderful things in it. And it's certified organic, but it also has herb extracts like chamomile and cat's claw and things that help. It's got jojoba. So I use this as my base. It's unscented, and you would put it in, and I've got them upstairs, the high density plastic bottles. You'd fill it about halfway, put your essential oils and shake it up, fill it up again, shake it up, and then you've got a non-toxic, really nice moisturizing custom massage lotion. So I have recipes and everything here, and if you want to later, we can get them on a data stick for you, or I can print them, whatever makes you happy. Any last questions? No?
I think so.
Did you learn something?
Yeah.
Yes, I know it is tremendous amount of material. Imagine 5 days and chemistry.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. I appreciate everyone being here. And we'll take a break now and get ready for the next part.